Hello, Shay. Good evening. Hello, everybody. And oh, wow, full house today. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this week's Saffron's weekly voiceover. I hope you can all hear me because my internet is misbehaving. Hello, everybody. And yes, welcome once again. My name is Gizo Giaco, and I am the Director for Finance for SaffronSACAP. Can you please indicate if you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yes?
Do you wave? Yes?
Okay, awesome. Good evening and welcome once again. This is the fourth week. Wow, wow, wow. We're still going. We thank God. It's lovely to see such a full house at the beginning of the show. Before I continue, I would love to just welcome aboard my colleagues who are going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to welcome everybody in the house. So I will start with you, Marcia, if you would like to unmute and introduce yourself.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you again for joining us and being always here for Saffron. I hope that this evening that you'll have an inspiring and entertaining, I hope, as well, evening because we'll be talking about young people, so it must be entertaining. So again, my name is Marcia, and I'm the Director for Youth Engagement and Intervention.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcia. And I would also like to ask Yemi if you would like to unmute yourself.
Okay.
You're mute.
No, I'm not muted.
You haven't switched. Okay.
Oh, hello
Go ahead.
everyone. Good evening, good morning. I'm sure it's good afternoon somewhere and maybe good night somewhere else in the world. But we are here and we are happy to be with you this evening. We're so happy to actually have so many people on right at the beginning. This is awesome. Thank you for joining us, and it is a pleasure to be bringing you topics that are pertinent to our communities, our young people, adults, and families. I will also be your host on Facebook. Hello, everyone on Facebook. Say hello to me. Please wave, like, share, and let's try and reach as wide other wide members of our communities as possible. Have a good evening, everyone, and stay blessed. Thanks, Giz.
Thank you, Yemi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. Yes, so Facebook family, we want to say welcome. We know that some of you tune in from very far and very wide. So yes, especially our Nigerian family, we want to reach out and we want to say we are with you, thinking of you at such a very delicate time in the country. We also want to reach out to our family in the island of St. Vincent because of the volcanoes. We've all seen what's going on, and we want to say that you're in our prayers as well. And yeah, you see, we're a family, we're a community, and we've got to look out for each other at every step, every way. So yeah, just reaching out. Wow. I'm going to hand over to Marcia because this has been the favorite part of Saffron's voiceovers for me. Where we're dealing with our millennials. Yeah. And this is the fourth week, guys. This is the fourth week of the segment, and wow, it's been amazing. It's been very insightful. So for those of you who were possibly not on last week, what we would like to do is just to do a recap. And I'm really sorry, I apologize about my voice today. I've been working hard, so I've kind of lost it. But yeah, Marcia is going to recap so that we can, for those of you that weren't on, you will have an idea of what we were talking about. So over to you, Marcia.
Oh, hi again. So, so last week we well, there were two statements were read describing millennials, and one I found very disturbing because they were described as selfish, self-absorbed, narcissistic, words that I think if you link those to young people and they start to believe in those words, they'll become what we say they are. And the other description was sensitive, wise, engaging. That's the description I like because I think millennials are. And last week we had a gentleman from, I think it was John Kay, we had him from Egypt, and he gave us his insight or how he understood millennials from his perspective and from where he is. And we had the London perspective on it. And there were things that were discussed around saying they were lazy and there are opportunities out there they're not going and getting. But yes, there are opportunities out there for young people, but are there the opportunities that are best for them? Are the opportunities that they're in tune to do? Or we just think, okay, they're young, they must get out there and do something. We discuss things about listening to young people, hearing what they've got to say, engaging with what they're doing. We're talking about families where, parents don't know who their friends are, you don't know what their hobbies are. I think it's important that we know, what our young people are interested in. Talk to them about the things that they do and tell them about what you're doing as well. You'll be amazed to know that they have a perspective as well. They have ideas, they're creative. They can share things with you as well. It's not just about us constantly imposing, you know, our ideas on them and, you must be this and you must be that. And yes, we grew up where we were told, You know, you have to be a particular profession because your dad was this, so you got to be this. In the family, we want you to be doctors or teachers or lawyers. It's not about that. It's about what the young people in what they're skilled to do and what they enjoy doing. And we should encourage them to do the things that they enjoy and support them. Because if we don't support them within the household, they'll go out to find that support. You know, they'll go elsewhere to find people who will support them, but probably not for the right reasons. So, yes, let's celebrate our young people. You know, let's support them. It's a tough time for them. COVID has been easy. The peer pressure is really bad. The things that are going on out there, it's bad. So let's support them. Let's listen to them. You know, let's lend and let them speak. Let them speak. Hear what they've got to say and embrace them and engage with them. Okay, back to you guys.
Awesome, thank you. That made a lot of sense, and you're saying let's listen to them, and I think that's a lot of what came across last week. And I think at this point in time, we at Saffron, we would like to recall two of the millennials, two of the young people within our community who have sadly lost their lives recently, and that is Richard Okorogeye, who was found in Loughton, as we all know. So our hearts and our thoughts go out to his family, and may he continue to rest in peace. And recently, Jimmy Olubumi Adewale, selfless young man who did a very selfless act of trying to rescue somebody and unfortunately lost his life. And we also want to raise his family and let them know that, they are in our thoughts and in our prayers. And may his young soul rest in peace. And what this is, guys, this is just, two young people who in their own, two phases of the world, possibly people that one, obviously we don't know because we're not part of the investigation, but the point we're trying to make is our young people do need to be held up. We need to raise them, we need to listen to them, we need to try and understand them. This is not a generation that talks, and that's one thing that needs to be put out there. This is not a talking generation, and then when they do talk, a lot of what they say we don't understand. We may not understand the actual words, but sometimes if you sit and listen, body language speaks. And we try to say to parents, watch the body language of the young people, because sometimes the body language is speaking a lot louder than the words that are coming out from their mouths, So, I know I've seen a few young people on today, and that makes me really, really happy. Please just understand that it's an open house. There is no protocol. The only protocol would be that you do not share any personal stories on here for the meantime, because we are live, and confidentiality obviously is our watchword. But in saying that, we want you to be free to share your stories, but if you can generalize them, try not to personalize them, so that we get the story without getting the actual direction or who the story is about, for obvious reasons. But please don't let that hold you back from sharing, because we have professionals who are online. We have people who would be able to answer any kind of questions or situations that you might be putting forward today. So please feel free to talk to us. That's what we're here for. SaffronSACAP, bridging the gap. And just quickly, before we move on, for those of you who are probably joining us for the first time, I'm seeing some new names. Fred Rosebud, I haven't seen you on before, so you are welcome. Thank you. DeAndre Eliza, hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to also mention Auntie Amma Anane Ajay. Auntie Amma is our mentor, always comes on, always supporting her daughters. So we welcome you, Ma. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
So welcome. And we also have Taiwo Ross. Taiwo is in the house. Taiwo's one of our heavy contributors with Saffron, always has been with us.
Thank you too.
Thank you, Rosebud. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Want to just say a shout out to you, Taiwo. Thank you for coming on tonight. It's always a pleasure to have your, your insight. We learn a lot when you're on. Very deep, but we learn a lot when you're on. So thank you. So basically, we just wanted to give a bit of a background about Saffron, SaffronSACAP, which is Saffron Safeguarding the African Child and Adult Partnership. That's what the SACAP means. And I think sometimes we take for granted that you all just know this, which is not always true. So for those of you who don't, that is what it means. Saffron Safeguarding the African Child and Adult Partnership. And this, I like to call it our baby, because this is something that was born out of there was a need in our community to bridge so many gaps, and as an organization, we sat down and we said this is something that we really need to do. And I'm hoping, and I know I speak on behalf of the whole of the Saffron team, I'm hoping that we are actually impacting in the community, impacting in society, and as time goes on, you will hear a lot more about what we're doing. I know some of you are already part of our home office engagement forum, which we do every third Saturday of the month. And the next one will be on the 15th of May. And that is where you get to come on via Saffron. So it's on a Zoom platform. And if you have any immigration challenges, you can come on and have a one-to-one. And we have an open forum, which is confidential, I will stress. It is highly confidential. And you can come on here and speak to the immigration team from the UK Home Office. Okay. We also have our parenting group. Our office is based in Gillingham in Kent. And that's where we have our African Center. So we have our family, what we call a family support service center. We have the parenting center that we do. So it's a parenting group, which we do every Saturday morning. Obviously, due to the COVID, things have slowed down, but we are now fully COVID compliant, and it's all systems go. So please spread the word if there are any families. And even though we are based in Kent, we are everywhere. So we're open to referrals. We're open to everything. And like we said, we're out there for the African and Caribbean community to bridge the gap, to heal, because there's a lot that needs to be put right in our community. And that is the main mission of Saffron. So as time goes on, we're going to share a lot more. So much is happening, which we want you all to be a part of. And secondly, I would like to say, even if it's not something that directly concerns you, it's something that will concern maybe your neighbor. Okay, so please just remember to share. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put some things in the chat so that everybody can feel free to go through it and have a read, because of time constraints, because we're only on till 8 p.m. So I don't really want to just be spieling and reading through things, because that's just going to take our time. But we do want to say, thank you. Thank you for always giving us the audience. Thank you for coming on our Zooms. This is part of our 12-week celebration, because it's leading up to our 1-year birthday, which we will be hosting in June. And we would like every single one of you, because you are the Saffron family, we would like every single one of you to be part of the main celebration and leading up to the celebration. But please share, please share, because it's very important that everybody that is within our community is part of the Saffron family. Okay, all right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the floor. Okay, it's millennials, parenting millennials, and we all have, those of us that have. So what I'm going to do is ask that, feel free, if there's anything you have, if you were on last week and you have any questions, you have anything you want to put out there, and you have statements, please feel free. From Facebook, I'm sure Yemi will be picking up your statements, your questions. Feel free to pose them as well. I'm going to hand over to you, Yemi, at this juncture, just before I open the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, I think you've really said most of what we actually had in plan. I didn't think you could take it because of your throat. So thank you for going the length. I just also want to welcome Lady Yemi, Voice of Hope, Women's Foundation. Thank you for joining us, Lady Yemi. Hello. Do you want to say hello, Lady Yemi? Okay. And then we also welcome, he is Man Cobain. He will introduce himself later. There's really some awesome young men here this evening, and thank you for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you on board. Okay, please feel free to unmute yourselves. um, your thoughts around the discuss so far. If you were on last week, I know it was quite a huge discussion around young people um, being um, being able to critically analyze situations around them as opposed to getting the answers directly from internet and um, probably in a way a couple of people said that young people were being in quotes spoon fed these days and not making an extra effort to solve problems around them. What are your thoughts around this, please? Sorry. Okay. Does anyone want to take a shot? Feel free to unmute yourselves. You don't have to put your hand up at the moment. Tyrell, please take the floor.
Yes. Hi. Is this? Let me put my camera on once. So,
That'd be nice.
if any of the young people want to speak, I was waiting for one of them to speak first before saying anything. But the just my general comment on the topic, because I saw that this is a topic for running at least a couple of weeks, and it made me think, because number one, I've been a, shall I say, I've become a sort of self-appointed age diversity champion, as in generational diversity. That's the word. So this goes back several years to when I was on the Diversity Council, when I was working in the States, and I've been to workshops, and I've taught some of the things pertaining to the generational differences. So from Gen X to Gen Y to now Gen Z. Millennials get a bit of a bad rap in general, so I think this is a good forum to sort of correct some of the things that are often said about millennials, which obviously, for a millennial, will put them on the back foot and come across as being really unhelpful and puts them on the defensive. Okay, there are some millennials that are doing good things, and maybe they have support structures at home, and I think it's good for us to refer those that may be less fortunate to examples of their peers, not in a way to say, look at so and so, that's what you should have been doing, but just as a way to encourage them that they can still do better, they can still change their lot. I think the first thing we can do as the generation before them, Gen X, is to acknowledge the challenges that they face in their world. And I don't mean in a general sense. I mean in specific areas. And this is something that I try to do with those I meet, whether they're just young friends or children of friends or relatives or whatever. So one of the areas that many of them find challenging is the area of getting a career, a sustainable career, work that pays, gives a sense of confidence and self-esteem and all of that. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes the issues that one generation has, sometimes there's a little bit of a trickle. If we're to dig down to the roots, you sometimes find the roots of the problem in the generation before. because, you know, humanity, the way we are, and I'm not an anthropologist, but, you know, there are the experts on this, the way that we're this continuum. And one generation naturally has expectations of the next generation based on what they had. Okay, so think of our parents' generation and all the expectations they had of us, some of which are, let's face it, unrealistic, because the world in which we live is different from the world in which they live. Now, millennials are living in a totally different world from the world in which we grew up in. Yes, we're still, you know, relatively young, whatever. But I mean, this is the generation that many of them were born sort of at the dawn of the high-tech computing, internet, and all these things that have changed the world significantly and changed the range of opportunities that are available to them. So what am I saying? If you are a parent that says, oh, you must be a doctor, lawyer, what you know, the list, doctor, lawyer, you know the list, the ones that we got, yeah. If you're a parent that's saying that to your millennial, then I'm afraid it's very unhelpful. Okay, I'm a qualified mechanical engineer. That was my first degree. But if there was a young person today, I would not, you know, if I don't have a millennial child or anything like that, but I would not. Well, actually, funnily enough, my nephew's an engineer. So, but he's fought through that and has decided that's not for him. He's going off in a different career direction. So, but for some people, they may not even make it that far or have any degree of support. So there are so many options out there career-wise that are things that we, the prior generation that are trying to guide them, are not aware of. This is the reason that we need to update ourselves. If we're going to help them, remember, this is a generation that is relatively new within the workforce, and the workforce is living longer and working longer. So there's a massive disconnect. Not my words. These are not my words, okay? I'm saying things that have been written about in literature. I've worked with managers, I've worked with organizations where when the millennials came in, they were handed to myself. There was a whole thing at one point of the millennials being parented by their managers at work. That was, I mean, certainly in certain aspects of industry, that was a well-known thing at one point in time. So there are tools and things that are relatively new that I certainly, for me, for example, personally, that I would like to, when the opportunity arises, continue to guide, direct, inspire, encourage millennials in that direction, because they represent what is new, what is next for the world in which we live, which is kind of acknowledging some of the challenges, but acknowledging what the options are. I think if we do that, it will give them hope. What we shouldn't do is try to place expectations on them based on our own outdated experiences, because compared to the world of today, for a young person, a millennial, or even a Generation Z now, because they are entering the workforce now, our experiences are outdated. So that's just my general spiel. If anybody wants to, any young person has a question or anything on that, I'd be more than happy to answer, but I thought I'll pause there before going down into maybe specific things that I think young people can begin to explore on their own to help boost their career prospects.
Wow. Thank you so much, Taiwo. I'm not even going to try to follow that because that was deep. But you know, you made some amazing points. You know, I love where you talked about outdated experiences. You know, we always hear our millennials say, "Oh, in your times," you know, and I think if parents are very, very if they're tuning in, that's what the outdated that you talk about, that is what they refer to. Now, I mean, some of us are not that old, but it's not about age. We're talking about the times. So at this point, we want to open the floor. Taiwo, wow, Taiwo, you've given us so much to talk about. So please, if you are on, please feel free to unmute yourselves and let's have this talk. And if there are millennials on here, I understand if you would like to remain behind the camera, not a problem at all. I get it, street cred and all that, but we would love to hear from you because it's about communication, and this is your chance to let us know, you know, are our things really outdated, guys? Please talk to us. Yeah, we really want to hear from you, and some of the parents too. If you are having, I'm not going to call them challenges. I don't like to call them challenges. They're not challenges. They are going to be differences of opinion because we are from two different eras. So, you know, let's hear from you guys, please. Feel free to unmute. If you want to put your hand up, that's also fine. But if not, then I can always call on somebody. I know once I call on you, you do know you will be answering. Okay.
Well, hi everyone. Good evening.
Oh, good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you, Taiwo. That was very inspiring, actually. Thank you very much. That's a statement I hear in my house a lot. You don't have it, you know, when you say it, just like you don't have the clue, mom. That was your time, you know. And I would say even growing up, or with my children growing up, I was a bit more liberal than many parents. I wasn't one of those because I came from that generation of the lawyer, doctor, engineer. So I was very conscious not to put that on the children. But of course, there were influences around, and that played on them because, you know, it then became a thing of maybe dad saying, oh, look at that person's child, and you know, then they had that confusion for such a long time. Obviously, a lot of them, many of them are older now, so they've sort of, and I've left them to do what they feel they're good at, you know, not had any influence. With the sort of younger millennials, I think there's a bit of an issue where it's, I don't know, because I listened to Taiwo saying building their self-confidence to believe in what they want to do. Because there's also, they know what they want to do, but there's also, oh, what will this person say? Or in the eyes of this person, maybe I don't look so good, or I might be judged, or do you know what I mean? And that plays a lot on them. So I would like a few tips from Taiwo. How do you guide, you know, obviously I do this as sustain, and I give the, how do you say it? I build them up daily, and you know, you can do whatever you want to, and don't look at, you know, everybody's race is different, and just go for your goals. I do all of that, but even though I'm not that old, but you are slightly younger than me, so your perception is probably slightly different. So what else can I do to encourage a child in their late teens, for instance, and say, you know, go out there and pursue, you know, what you would like to pursue, really. Yeah.
Yes. Do you want me to? Shall I speak, Giz?
Of course, I can't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So first of all, just to. I think for all of us on this forum, it's good that we understand the way I don't know if they're called sociologists or anthropologists, the way they've divided the generational groups. So if you have teenagers, so they are actually, technically speaking, they are actually Generation Z. Okay, so anyone born roughly around the year 2000 onwards, so those that are about 18, 19, 20 now, that's even Generation Z now. Okay, so you know, for a long time, I mean, we've been talking millennials for over, at least when I was in the late 2000s, when I was working in the US, we were talking millennials. So my references to managers talking about, in fact, what happened was employees, the young 20-somethings that came, you know, those fresh hot graduates that finished at 21, 22, when they came, the managers couldn't handle them. I'm talking about a major company. The managers did not know how to manage these young people. So they looked for those that were sort of the in-betweeners, which included people like, I actually got to mentor and welcome a couple of young employees. You know, I wasn't a manager, I didn't have managerial responsibilities, but the manager saw that, well, Taiwo, yes, you'll be good at welcoming so and so. So for the next generation after that, there are even more things to consider, more changes of our world, more social, economic, climate factors that we have to consider. Okay, now the best thing you can do as a parent or guardian or friend of such a young person is to educate yourself. And obviously, I'm not talking about getting certificates or degrees, no, but educate yourself. You see, one thing I do, and I pray that God is to update myself. I am very, very progressive. Okay. Now, unfortunately, there is a price associated with being progressive. A good friend of mine, for example, approached me to do something quite recently. I looked at it. I thought, okay, the idea is good, but I mean, the raw materials we were going to use for this project go back probably 2 to 3 decades, you know? And I thought, well, so who are we doing this for? Are we doing it for ourselves, our club thing, or are we doing it to impact lives? So I was kind of lost with a sense of purpose. And I thought, you know what? It might be best if you excuse me from this project. We're still friends, you know, but, you know, so, and that's because I spoke to another friend who was also invited, and she's a bit more diplomatic and so on. I am the kind of person that I have to be a bit more cut and dry, because I realize that it's very hard to progress at a certain rate or certain speed if you are trying to bring along everything from the previous era and everyone from the previous era. Some want to remain, you know, because that's the era, the age group that they were born in, they want to remain there, and that's fine, you know. I mean, it takes energy, you know, to constantly update oneself. It's not easy. When you get to a certain age, you know, there is white stuff here, believe it or not. so it's hard staying relevant. Staying relevant is challenging. Working in a new area with a new skill is challenging. So what I would say is, I would just say, don't be discouraged in regard to at least trying to update yourself. So I'm addressing all of us. I don't mean you. It doesn't mean you have to become an expert. No, but that's about what pretend. What can one really do if they do this, or if they want to become a professional in this area? We know now that all those jobs that my parents said, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. You go to university. All those jobs are valid. Whether it is film, whether it is fashion, they're all valid professions, as long as the young person receives guidance to do it at the required level, web, and with the required connections and with the required memberships and all of that, such that it gives them the best opportunity to succeed. They are all valid. Okay, and if a young person also wants to go to university and become a doctor, that's valid too. And just let them know that, yes, that's even more challenging. My first thing, because and life is more than career. But when I say career, I really mean career / vocation / profession. What young people start with a vocation, what they do out of pleasure. Okay, what they delight in. That's where they find their key skills and what they're good at. Now, in our generation, some of us, God gave us the resilience to continue to bang our head against the wall until we get stuff like that, you know? Not everybody has that patience, okay? So it's important to allow young people to explore. Exploration is a key part of learning. Just because somebody goes to dance classes for the first half of this year and then later says, okay, no, I tried it, but it's not for me, doesn't mean that was wasted. There is something they would have gained from that. So we obviously got to be careful about how we speak. the words from our mouth and so on, what we say to young people to encourage them. They might have to explore 2, 3, 4 times before they find the one that is ripe and that produces for them. Well, we adults do the same, you know. So I would say vocation, second point, is what we should focus on, certainly for a young person, more than career. You know, we obviously want them to do well. I'll close in saying this, just for this segment. There's a CEO of a famous Fortune 500 company, and I'm not sure which one. I've tried to find this podcast, and I could never find it. I listened to this podcast. This is over about 12 years ago, and I talk about it every single time I get the opportunity. It was either Carly Fiorina, CEO of HP, or Carol Bouts of Autodesk, somebody of that caliber. She was invited to speak at Stanford in their business school. She said, I have a son, and people say, you know, encourage your children to follow their passion and so on. And she said, I looked around and I thought, well, I like art. So if somebody said, follow your passion, well, who's going to pay me to go and admire artwork on the museum gallery walls? That was her response. So she said she thought about it and then said to her young child, who was about 18, to find the intersection where they cross. 3 different things: what your desire is, what you are good at, what you can do, and what the market wants. Okay, so maybe make a list, consider however you do it. There are things I do. There are things I do that I enjoy, but which, if I was to do in the pure enjoyment sense, would not give me any benefit. Okay, but I look at what I do in various other areas of my career and how I can deliver those, deploying skills that are my fun skills. Okay, so I do that, and then that often gives me some guidance as to what I should be looking at doing. So it's never a case of, shall I be a programmer or shall I be a dancer? You know, it's never a case of, shall I be an artist or shall I be, a computer geek? Because guess what? In today's world, for example, I mean, we've things like the Oculus and virtual reality. What young people today are doing, they're taking their passion for video games, the smart ones, and turning that into something lucrative by designing video games. So they're bringing their graphical, their artistic skills, okay, with a passion for something that is fun, and funneling that into areas where there is a growing demand. There is, of course, a growing demand in the area of video games with things like Fortnite and all of that, you know, and some of them are monetized, and there's a whole ecosystem there. I'm not too clued up on that. But even if anything happens with that, the skills that they gain in doing that inevitably are useful elsewhere. If it turns out that, you know, the video games are not, you can't sit there and, and then money just rolls in. Well, in the process, you've developed some appreciation for graphics, for maybe a little bit of programming that you can then build on and then go off in a different direction. Okay, so I always think and like to encourage people to develop skills that could be quickly in future reconfigured. I've gone through a career reconfiguration myself. Okay, so I'm speaking as someone that's been through this. It's important to encourage them, and everything's valid, therefore. Okay, everything is valid because we don't know at what point a certain person is going to have to reconfigure their life, and it could be when, just 2 years down the line. I mean, look at the world we live in today. No one would have imagined that we have to be Zoom experts, we have to be good with mics and all of that.
I'm going to cut you in there only because, my head is swelling right now. You've just filled it with so much. But that was awesome. And I'm hoping, Vivian, if you're listening, I know it was a lot, but I hope Taiwo has been able to help answer your question in how you can guide the millennials. And if you still want some more, what we can do is outside of Zoom, we can always link up with you, work with you, and see how we can help support you. Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Yes, Antiama, you said you also want to speak. If I ask you to unmute yourself, please. Thank you so much, Taiwo. That was awesome. Okay. Okay, Antiama, go ahead, unmute yourself, and the floor is yours. I believe you said you have. Are you there? My husband wants to talk. Okay, brilliant. So it's not actually you, it's your husband, which is fine. The floor, everybody is welcome. Okay. I'm gonna call on you. Okay, whilst you're getting ready to speak, Antiama, I've asked you to unmute. So please feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes, we have. He's ready.
Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I just listened to the points which you've been raised. Yeah. And I heard about the fact that experience could be outdated. And I don't think it's outdated. We can build on that.
Okay.
Yes, and the present problems that we have, we could use the past experience to help us resolve that. You see, so it's not outdated at all. It all depends. And I just want to tell you this. I read this about 10 years ago. Nostradamus wrote in the year 1551 that there will be a twin year, 2020, from which will arise a queen called Corona, who will come from the East China and who will spread as a plague called virus in the darkness of night.
Right.
On a country with 7 hills, and will transform the twilight of men into dust, death, to destroy and ruin the world. It will be the end of world economy as you know it. From that experience I read 10 years ago, I thought it was a joke. But now if you look at the pandemic and the way COVID-19 is playing with us, with so many deaths, you can't really use this as an outdated sort of concept or idea. That's what I want us to help, because our great-grandfathers, fathers help us to build experiences. And on that basis, it made us feel who we are and how we can deal with issues as we see today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for that interjection. And that is what is so beautiful about this platform, is because we have, you know, various perspectives of life. And you know, obviously you've come from an era where obviously you're talking from your perspective. So, you know, thank you so much for that wonderful insight.
Thank you, my daughter. Thank you for giving me the space.
That's fine.
I just like to listen.
No, I know. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll talk to you when I see you too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And just before I'm going to open the floor and hand over to you, Yemi, I just want to pick up on something. With what Taiwo said, and also what Vivian said about, you know, when we speak to our children. Taiwo made a very salient point about us updating ourselves. And, you know, a question I ask parents is, do you know what your children are listening to? Do you know who they are listening to? Do you know that there are so many motivational speakers out there? And if you look, our children are glued to their phones. Okay, it's very important as parents, we get to know who they're talking to, because they don't always talk to us, they don't listen to us, but somebody is giving them information, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter, it's information. There's a list Gary V, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, Nick Voljevic, Ariane Huffington, Les Brown, Chris Gardner. I've thrown these names out, and if I ask each parent to please tell me one of those names that means anything to them. If I said, who is Gary V? I'm sure many of us would say, we don't know. Okay, so it's important we update ourselves, you know. Let's not do the, I'm too old for that. You're never too old. Yeah, we've got to be along. You know, it's possible that it's not outdated. We could be the ones making it outdated by not updating ourselves. Yeah, so please, that's something we need to think about. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much for that. For the last three speakers, that was some amazing thing. Rosebud, is your hand up? Please,
yeah.
The floor is yours. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I want to thank Yemi. I call her Saffron. And, I'm happy to be. She's smiling.
I'm smiling.
We met somewhere at Abuja, and she's been inviting me, and unfortunately, it's not been easy for me to join. So thank you for inviting me. And I want to say, Saffron, that I came to UK, I'm visiting, so it's easy for me to be able to key into the program, because if it is from Nigeria, you know what it means. Is either our NEPA will take the light, or wherever, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Some of you from Nigeria will know what I'm talking about. So thank you for inviting me. So when I saw this invitation, I was so excited. I said, I must attend this, and Saffron will know that I'm around. I want to thank all the speakers so far, but there's one area it does appear that we are leaving uncovered. And it has to do, whether we're talking about the millennials, or we're talking about Generation Z, or we're talking about updating ourselves, or we're talking about outdated experience or generational gap, there's one aspect that we have left untouched. And it has to do with our uneducated, or those parents that do not have the opportunity to even go to school. When you walk in our communities in the third world, or let me say from Nigeria, where I come from, as a community consultant, when we get into the communities and you come across the youths, you find out that their problem is not even whether I want to be a doctor, or whether I want to be a lawyer, or whether I want to be a teacher. The problem is that they've not gotten what it takes to even know where they are going. And we have this community expectation. We have family expectation. And what are these expectations? Well, have you not seen this other person in the neighboring village who is a lawyer? Why don't you want to look like that person? Don't you see how the other parents, how everybody in the village is worshiping him or her because the son is a doctor, or she has gone abroad outside the country to get one form of education or the other? So I would like especially Taiwo to please help me so that when I go back, I will add it to what I am trying to do. You know, what is that? How do I let those parents even understand that being an artist is something? How do I make them understand that being a dancer is worth it? Without saying that if you're a girl, especially if you're a girl and you are a dancer, nobody will marry you. Because we have professions that are tied to our culture. And there is a particular profession you talk about for a girl, and they will say, no, it's a no-go area for a girl. I'm not talking about those that have gone to school. I'm talking about the other percentage of parents that have not gotten the opportunity to reach where we are. And unfortunately, there are those that also have gone to school, at least they have first degree. But when you begin to talk to them, as Taiwo told us this evening, you find out that ever since they left school, they've not been updating themselves. They do not have an idea of what is happening. They do not have an idea of what we are talking about, you know? So they are still there, tied in quote with our culture. Please, Taiwo, and the rest of us on the platform, is there any way you people can, how we can help ourselves and get me out of this way, this, I'll call it problem that I have or challenge that I have, so that it will help me to cancel and talk to, you know, enrich myself and update myself too. I don't really have problem with people that educated on the other side of the coin. I'm talking about people, if we can cast our minds home from our local communities in the villages, how do we bring them up? Thank you very much for all listening.
Thank you for your contribution and for widening the scope. Indeed, yes, the initial scope has been a bit narrow. We have to start somewhere. But I always think globally anyway, so it's good that you have brought, and wherever we're Nigerians anyway, so it's good that you've brought that perspective in. What I want to say is, I believe that there are, I understand what you're saying. There are not everybody will get the opportunity to go to school or university. There are millions of people who haven't had that opportunity and just wish for their children to have such an opportunity. So if we are thinking of the generation millennial or Gen Z in Nigeria and what prospects could possibly be open to them, that is definitely a worthwhile discussion. What I would like to do is sort of start where I was earlier, but expand it, okay? Maybe use some examples. And the question actually is a good one because it gives the opportunity to talk about this. You see, the world in which we live today, with all the technology and all the big companies and so on, has actually, to some extent, leveled the playing field. Not completely, but at least there's a bulldozer at work trying to level the playing field between the developed OECD nations and developing countries, okay? And in fact, it's because of this relative leveling that even in political circles, we are now seeing that, and I don't mean necessarily Nigeria, but we're seeing a continual acknowledgement that, okay, these are countries, whether it is in the context of coronavirus, at least there's discussion, okay, how are they going to get vaccines, you know? Or the UK government sending ventilators to India, or Boris Johnson issuing an apology for African soldiers that fought alongside the British during the World War that were not given the same honorable burial. This was just last week. So what the world of today in the field of technology has done is it's given young people in most parts of the world a small seed, not a fruit that they can bite into that's ready to feed, but a small seed. I'm speaking metaphorically, obviously now. So what do I mean by this? Okay, so I'll use a couple of examples. Now, obviously, we know, and the whole world knows, for example, that with joblessness, young people wanting to do something that has impact to better their lives, they do whatever they can find. And we've for many years we've had a group that we just tag Yahoo boys. You know, in the days of internet cafe, we go in and sit there and use their own smart brain in their own way to do things that, albeit illegal, or going off on the wrong path to down following a wrong approach to sort of better their lives. But when you examine what's going on, we had the case of what was the name of the young man, that was imprisoned in the U.S. I've forgotten his name, but you probably know what I'm talking about. Yes. So, I mean, we are a smart people, come what may. Let's not take that away. With the little that we have, I mean, we know that we are one generation that just give somebody a little something, a camera, a phone, or whatever, and they will use it and do things with it that we here in the West will still be waiting, planning, and organizing and analyzing. You know what I mean? I mean, Welcome to Lagos, the movie. I don't know if you watched that, the one that was released years ago, and was it a BBC presenter? And when the local movie makers were trying to make the movie the way they make the Nollywood movies, the posh guy with all the equipment was saying, oh, they don't have this, they don't have that. And they laughed at this guy. They said, look, you're spending 3 days shooting something that would have been done in 1 day. Okay, yes, those movies might not have been for the global big screen, Century Fox or whatever, but at least they were a good start. And really, they were the foundation to the higher quality output that we are seeing today. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to say is that in the Nigerian context, in the African context, and developing nations, this dialogue of educating ourselves still carries on. There are many things now. There are tech firms. Today I was watching a little clip of the Nigerian firm Paystack that was sold to Slide. They were the first, I think, African startup to be invited to Y Combinator. So, and I'm probably sounding like I'm speaking Greek now, but all that's to say is that there are things, music, we had, what's his name? Bruna Boy, win a Grammy lately, and he gave a speech. Then the BBC were interested, obviously, in interviewing him, because there was I don't think there was a Grammy winner from the UK here. So there are things that, even with the hardship in our Nigerian way, can be done with these little elements, seeds, that we may have access to. And I think what we need to continue to do is continue to drive ways to support communities, those of us abroad, to support them in across all dimensions, financially, morally, socially, and so on, and to continue to try to enlighten them as to possible new opportunities that they can pursue locally. Okay, while that is happening at the other end of the scale, there are, although a small community, there are leaders, Nigerians back in Nigeria and abroad, who are also trying to move the needle, and that's why we have this forum. But there are many other forums. There's the I think there's the Capital Markets Forum. There are people in their own sphere, in their own way, trying to think big picture to make change that on a grand scale would at least trickle down and make lives a little bit better. And that's the job of the educated lot and so on and so forth. But I just shared an example, Karim Waris Olamilekon, the artist. That young man, I get so inspired by him and the amazing portraits, and he's still a teenager, So he's one good example, and I think because of his artwork, he found there was a sponsorship that came to him and his family, and they rehoused them into a new house. It's a lovely story, and I sometimes think that I mean, if he was a child living and growing up in the UK, would life here, with all its opportunities, have given him the peace of mind for that talent to really develop and flourish? I don't know. It may not have, because there are so many other challenges that come into the equation with living here in the UK. So I don't know if that is it's not a complete answer, I know, but maybe it's a partial answer to the question. Perhaps you can, I can come back with more if
Thank you so much. It's a complete answer.
Wow, awesome. Thank you so much, Taiwo. And thank you, Mrs. Rosebud, for putting that forward, because, you know, we do have a very wide Nigerian audience. So, you know, I'm hoping that that has been able to possibly help somebody who could also be watching and listening in. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, so Taiwo, thank you once again. Right, Ollie, welcome to the house. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Welcome, Ollie. Good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. Tired, but fine. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just butted in. Am I right in thinking the lady was asking about vocational training, like encouraging vocational training? Is that what she was talking about?
Well, Rosebud, you would like to unmute yourself? Yes, definitely.
Is that what she's saying?
Okay, yeah, you can unmute.
Okay, I've unmuted myself.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. But before you get to vocational, how do you convince parents to even know that not just trying to be a medical doctor or be a lawyer is the ultimate of life? How? And how do you even convince the little child in the village, in a village setup, to know that you must not be a lawyer, you must not be a medical doctor to be somebody in life?
Okay. I think from my own, well, let me speak generally and then I'll narrow it down, right? I think over the years, so obviously I'm a late 70s child. And I remembered when I was growing up, obviously the understanding of our parents at the time, our life was almost mapped out for us, right? Depending on the families you were born in. And, you know, fortunately and unfortunately for me, I come from a very strong career-focused household, right? So I had doctors, chief judge, accountant, and, you know, name all the careers. When I was growing up, as far as I was concerned, pursuing any of those careers was a future for me, because that was what I know. I didn't know anything different, right? And we also know the power of social capital, whereby the bubble we find ourselves, directly or indirectly, influences the way we look at life, right? So for me, as a person, I originally wanted to study law because I've always been passionate about advocacy and stuff like that. But somewhere along the line, I think in UniJos, I will never forgive UniJos, they had, I think the law was 258 and I scored 254. And at the time, unfortunately, I didn't make the first list. And the second list, unfortunately, too, I didn't make the second because I didn't take UniJos, the days of JAM. I don't know if there's still JAM now, but the days of JAM, so you look at your first choice or second choice. I didn't have UniJos as my second choice. So they wouldn't consider me, right? So obviously I had to do JAM again. And I thought, okay, I have an easy landing, right? It was either I did law or I did accounting. I wasn't good in maths, but luckily for me, the university I went to, one of the lecturers made accounting look like rice and beans. So because I wasn't good in maths, I mean, I had a C in math, not because I knew math, but I'm someone that I would just study to pass. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate, right? I study to pass because I don't like to fail, right? I can't be bothered doing the whole fail thing. Now, in between me going to uni, so before I went to uni, I'd gone to SPS. I don't know what it's called now. It's called School of Preliminary Studies.
Basic studies.
In Kefi. That was where I went to. School of, yeah, they were called SPS in Jos, Kefi. So it was School of Preliminary Studies in Jos. I think Ilorin was School of Basic Studies. So they had few of them scattered around Nigeria. Now I'd gone to SPS, then I went to Plateau State Polytechnic before going to university, right? Now, all along, I've always been a scattered head. I've always been interested in advocacy because that's something that I've always been passionate about, right? But then I was caught up in this. At the time when I was growing up, most of the people who were advocates, they were either accountants, you know, like you had all these big names who had careers. And I didn't have anybody for what I do now, which is social work. I didn't know it was called social work at the time, right? So we did it differently. Now, while we were also growing up, I remembered in the days of ASU strike, God bless ASU, we used to have, I knew a lady, I can never forget the lady, Auntie Bola is what we call her. She sews clothes, she's a seamstress down the road, she's a tailor. Now, unlike now that tailoring is now a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Back then, the people who did tailoring then could not construct English, right? Their shops was not appealing. They had and also hairdressers. In short, I remembered very well when I was growing up, to be a nurse meant you failed everything and only passed biology, right? So it wasn't a cool career to go into as a young girl, right? But why am I telling all of this story? Now, I remembered when there was ASU strike and stuff, I remember my mom, even my grandmom, had advised that I go to learn vocational work. But because it was not attractive, I mean, think of a young teenager, right? It wasn't attractive. And I didn't want my friends to know I was going to this Auntie Bola's shop to learn how to sew, right? So it wasn't there, even though I would have learned a lot from doing it, right? Now, that was what our parents did at the time. And of course, my mom didn't push further. Nobody around me pushed further for me to learn, okay? But while I am growing up, right? And obviously when I got into the labor market, at the time, a lot of people, obviously, like I have a friend who never engaged in employment. She was never into a paid employment. She bakes and she made that her own business. So when we graduated from university and everybody was looking for bank job because that was what was in our time. It was either you go to work in the bank or you work in the oil industry, right? So while everybody was aiming for that, she owned her own business, right? And over years, we began to see that she was actually more fulfilled than those of us that had paid jobs, right? Because she had that flexibility. Now, when I migrated to the UK, if there was anything I learned very fast, it was the fact that parents or children were encouraged from school to engage in vocational work, vocational training, right? The school I went to in Nigeria, home economics, I refused to do home economics. So I ended up doing agric, not because I liked it, okay? But I just didn't want to be cooking because that was what they did in home economics. You were either cooking or you were knitting. And for me, it wasn't just cool. For someone who is a scattered head, it wasn't a cool thing for me. Now, in this world that we are, obviously, since late 90s, 2000, right? We're beginning to see that those things like hairdressing that we looked down on when we were growing up, right? They are now fashion statements that people even make wigs and they will come out openly and say, oh, I'm making wigs. People are sewing clothes. They are making adire, which we all did when we were young. They taught us in school. But it wasn't cool to do it. Now, in this country, one thing I've picked up is for children, right from the early age, they look at what they're good at, right? And they begin to nurture that thing in them. When I was growing up, I was very good in drawing. I expressed myself a lot in drawing and in writing, right? It was just natural for me. But it wasn't something that was encouraged because I had to either be a lawyer or an accountant.
That's all.
Okay? And again, I don't blame our parents because that's what they know. So for me, what did I do differently? I have a child who is late. Well, he came just before the millennium, right? Now, the difference in my own parenting with my child is I allowed him nurture his vocational skills, right? And over time, yes, he still went to university. He still did what he had to do, but I didn't stop him from expressing himself with a vocational job or with the vocational skills. And I think coming to what you are saying, right? Now, as far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, gone are the days in Nigeria where a particular job is looked down at.
Yeah.
Because even those who are doctors now, you find out that, I mean, I have a friend who is a medical doctor. In short, not even a friend. I have a cousin who is a medical doctor. She's based in Canada now, right? When we were all, she studied medicine and everything. She also learned how to sew, right? Before she left for Canada, she never worked for one day as a paid doctor. The only reason she went to Canada as a doctor was obviously when they were doing the whatever it is that they do, the immigration, whatever. Because she was below age 30, it was easier for her to apply, and because of what she studied in uni. That's the only reason why she's gone ahead to practice as a medical person, as a consultant in Canada. But her business, her clothing line, she actually fosters that business more than she pays attention to her medical skills, right? So I think, in my own understanding, the internet has made life very easy. The way we communicate with our children over the years, because the internet has brought us to a very mini world, whereby it's no more a case of third country and third world and fourth world. We can see there could be something that happened in Nigeria today, and the breaking news is here in the UK, vice versa, right? So you don't have to wait 24 hours to get news across the world, okay? For the girls in the village, a lot of things is cool now. In the day, there was a time people would not even sell Nigerian food. They will not tell you they are eating Nigerian food. But now you find out that a lot of people are even making business. Look at shea butter. There was a time, I remember when we were in secondary school, you didn't want anybody to know you were rubbing your body with shea butter. Now they sell shea butter, right? People are talking about skin care with shea butter. They're talking about coconut oil. I mean, some of us who went to boarding school, you know what I'm talking about. When your cream run out, that is your go-to with perfume, with body spray in those days, right? Now, charcoal that they use in cooking. When you run out of toothpaste in boarding school, you use charcoal to brush your teeth, right? Now, people are even selling it. And when I say people, I'm talking of our own people. They are selling it. You go to like the shops. What's the least shop here? Super Drugs, right? Savers. They sell charcoal toothpaste, right? And you begin to see people make fashion statements with it. The other day, I went to M&S. They said, oh, no, I actually went to my dentist, right? And I was having problem with my wisdom tooth. I went to my dentist, and my dentist recommended organic toothbrush. Now, the long and short of it is twin stitch. That was what was recommended for me, right? So when my dentist wrote organic toothbrush, I didn't understand. Of course, you know, you live in a Western country, you are looking for something, you know, when they say organic, simply they should tell you African produce, okay? But they don't tell you that. So they said, you know, of course, luckily in Scotland, we don't have to pay for prescriptions, right? But because I went to private, I had to pay for it. I paid £10 to get chewing stick that I will pluck in my garden in Nigeria, right? People are selling sour soap. You know, I don't know if you know what, I don't know what the name they call it, sour soap, right? People are selling chewing stick. They're selling mats, right? People are you know, we're beginning to showcase our skills. Now, why am I saying all of this? There was a time that it wasn't cool to have vocational skills, right? That even parents were like, you're going to go and sit down with a tailor. You're going to go and sit down with a barber. You're going to go and sit down with, you know, those things. But now we are, as millennial parents, right? We're learning those skills. Kids want to learn to farm. It's not a thing for the uneducated anymore. Both the educated and uneducated are involving in it, right? And I think for the girls in the village, there is another dilemma, and I don't know if you guys have touched about it already. We have, I think the real dilemma we have as millennials, right? I'm going to speak from the professional and also as a parent, right? The first dilemma we have is what is portrayed with the invention of social media, right? What is seen as cool? Because on one angle, you know, we have this, I know some of us are Nigerians, and please don't take this the wrong way. You know, when I was growing up, when we were watching NTA News, I grew up in the days of Ruth Benemisia Opia, the days of Utokumbo Ajayi, Siristova, you know, those names, right? When they speak in English, they don't speak phone. We hear what they say, right? They showcase our Nigerian clothes. Like you have in Dewo, I don't know if you remember, in Dewo, Nakwana, Good Ekaro, you know those kind of scenario. They do it on NTA back in the days, right? But now when you listen, when you watch the Nigerian news, even our Nollywood, our Netflix, those of us, the Netflix Nigerian movie, you actually hear confused accents. So much so that they've painted it in a way that when you are poor, you have our language is vernacular, right? But the moment you make it to the limelight, you have to speak phone, right? So there is something called identity crisis. It's not even about the skills. It's about the identity that is being projected with media, social media, media platforms generally.
Okay. Okay. Everybody knows I'm a stickler for time. My 8 o'clock is my 8 o'clock because that's just how I am. And then two, I want to just cross-check with Rosebud that we've actually, because it was, how do you convince parents that a child who they want to be a medical doctor, that is not just the only profession out there? So what I think the question was basically, which you have addressed beautifully, but I'm just trying to keep us because of time. So I think if we're going to move on from this, but I think in a nutshell, I think both of you are kind of on the same track, and I hope, Rosebud, that has answered what you were asking, because your challenge is going back to the hinterland, to the villages, to try to educate the parents that if your child doesn't want to go along the medical profession, it is okay. There is still XYZ out there. Yes. Okay. And I think, to be honest, whether it's the village in Abeokuta or the village in my village in Olo, it's the same thing. You know, I don't think there's a rule for this side and a rule for this side. Even in the United Kingdom, our millennials are they're telling us now they don't want to go to university. It's the same thing we're facing here. So I think I want to put it out there that it's not just a Nigerian problem. I think it's a world problem. The millennials are discovering that there are other things they can do to be successful. Okay. And as parents, I think we do need to listen. And the best thing you can do for them is to listen to them and support them in their passion. There is nothing as amazing as your child coming to you. My daughter she's 16, but she started cooking from the age of 7. She cooks amazingly for the past 3 years. It's been her doing Christmas dinner. Was that me? No, I don't cook. I don't like cooking, but it's her passion. So what did I do as a parent? I encouraged. I bought the ingredients. I let her watch all the programs. This is what you do as a parent. You encourage the passion and see where it takes them. And if she gets bored tomorrow, she will switch to something else, which was said earlier on in the program. So let's keep the focus on what we're talking about today, which is obviously our millennials, our Gen Z, as Taiwo correctly said. I'd love to hear from some of you who are actually the millennials. And like I said, if you don't want to unveil yourselves, that's perfectly okay. A lot of adults, we've been speaking today, and I don't think I want to close this program without hearing from at least one of you, because the best thing that can happen for us today is to get your perspective, because this is your life. And Taiwo rightly said, you are tomorrow's people, you are tomorrow's generation. And if there are things we are not getting right, I'd love to hear from you guys. So if there are any of you that are on Facebook or on the Zoom now, please unmute yourselves and speak to us. Do we have any of the millennials on? Have they all run away? Have we scared you guys? I'm sorry if we have.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, what exactly, did you want us to share? I don't know,
I'll tell you what I want you to share. Yeah. It's amazing you've come on. Talk about, we are your parents, okay? We live with you, but we don't live in your world. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear, what are your challenges? What is it you feel that as parents we need to do more? Do we need to update ourselves? Are we doing okay? Are there things, and it might not be you personally, you have friends. Are there things your friends speak to you about that you feel, oh, you know what, I'll come on and I'll come on the program and let them know. Yeah. So speak on behalf of your generation, represent your generation and speak to us.
I think that, from things I've seen different people say and different friends, it's really a lot of what you said about encouragement. But I think also it's not just about encouragement verbally and stuff, but, a certain level of involvement, the same way people want their friends to, support whatever business they have, or, take an interest and, really get that kind of motivation from them. I feel like having a relationship with your parents, which is also a friendship, is important, so that, it's not a one-dimensional dynamic. And I feel like if you can be friends with your parents as well as have, a mother, daughter, or son or father, relationship, then all these things won't be as difficult, because you wouldn't feel like there were so many barriers between you and a friend if you're talking about something they were doing or trying to, motivate them. But I feel like, it puts certain like limitations and constraints when, it's a bit too formal, especially with something that, inspires you, care about, that you're passionate about. It doesn't really have any, any real grounding in, or at least obviously, your parents are there to help you and support you. But I feel like, it's just a person to person thing. It's not, exactly just only a parent to child thing, And I feel like, breaking down, that kind of buffer as parent to child, then person to person will help in terms of just like making everything more genuine and, just feel more natural. And then, you can, help each other out even.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you, because it's not always easy for you guys to come on and open yourselves to us. So I really do appreciate you. And I just hope that whatever you've heard today, that we are making small strides to linking with your generation and helping you guys to have a voice. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Asiwaju, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead. Can you unmute, please? Yes? No? You've got your hand up. Are you putting your hand up to speak? Asiwaju Shegun, are you speaking? Oh,
Paul,
this is from far away.
Paul,
Okay, Paul,
unmute
let's
yourself,
go
Paul.
to. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to share one or two things concerning millennials.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial and not part of Gen Z. So I will start with modern societies was built on the foundation of formal education. So you see from the generations down to millennials, you have to start with the crèche, nursery, primary. So the child spends his first 22 years with formal education. That's a lot of investment. When you look at the financial implication, more so, education right now, it's, I would say, more of affordable to the wealthy, good education. I can cite Nigeria as a case study. The numbers of strike and everything you have, so public education is nothing to write home about. So everything is now private, and many persons cannot afford it. So modern society was built on formal education. So if you don't get a certificate, you don't get a job. That's what our parents grew up knowing, and that's what they made us millennials know. So you have to go to school to get a certificate, to get a job, and you get a job and you work for 35 years and you retire and you spend your entire life that way. But when millennials got into university, the whole entrepreneurship talk um, exploded in the sense. So you had millennials that were pursuing their passion and also going to school. So now with Gen Z, I think it has gone a notch higher than that. Okay, mom, you want me to go to school? I'll go to school. I'll get your certificate. I'll follow my passion, and also I'll be creative. So you now have the creative bit added to entrepreneurship. Those are two separate things entirely. I can be passionate about fine art, drawing, but I can be very creative when it comes to music. So with Gen Z, they're pursuing everything available to give them um, um, an option to earn a living when they're in their 20s or in their early 20s. With millennials, no, millennials set off with pursuing entrepreneurship and getting a certificate. So with millennials, you see more of them pursuing professional courses, masters, and all of that. Those are millennials. So there's a difference with the generation gap that I think parents need to understand. My child is not doing well in chemistry, in science, but you want your child to be a doctor because there's a history of doctors in the family. Yes, the child might, just to honor the parents, do what it takes to say, okay, let me just get the certificate and move on with my life. And you start having strenuous relationship between parent and child and everything, just because the parents did not take time to understand that this child is passionate about something, can be creative with something, and can still get an education. So instead of being a hardliner, you must go to school, you must get formal education, your BSc, masters, PhD, whatever. Gen Z will tell you, I'm going to spend close to 10 million naira getting a BSc. That's a lot of investment that if you put into my creative ability, I can give you your return on investment within 5 to 7 years at most, instead of spending 4 years and another 2 more years chasing certificate. So I just think parents need to create a balance, in all of this. It's not gone are the days. I would say the days that you need to get a certificate to earn a living is gone and gone for good. It's gone and gone for good. You need to get an education, fine, but that's not the only option to earn a living, to get a job. Footballers, sportsmen, they are the most paid in the world. They're using their skills. Yeah, they go to school to have that, education, to be able to communicate well and fine, but that's not it. That's not. So for me, I'm a proponent of a balanced curriculum that talks about textbook, but also balanced skills training and creativity training. Not just music, learning how to play something, or look at all the skills, put them on the table. You want to swim, you want to play football, you want to be a basketballer, encourage the child the same way to develop that skill, invest in it the same way you want to invest in formal education. That's what I would say. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you so much. Oh, a little Dicky Bird told me you used to work for Saffron, SDGF, our Nigerian angle. Wow.
Hello.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, it's been a pleasure hearing from you, and we will be speaking with you within due course, okay? Thank you so much, Paul. I see what you've managed to unmute yourself. Go ahead. You've just muted again. Oh my God. All right. Lekon, can you unmute, please? We've been waiting for you to speak. Can you, unmute?
I think I'm on now, right?
Yeah, you're on. Go ahead.
Sorry, my phone is on.
That's fine.
All right. To the question, I think it would be of best opinion to say what's called millennial and kind of a career path. I'll be of the opinion like still stand my ground, even if my children come up and say, of course, it is my responsibility or it's our responsibility as parents to begin to see or watch them to see what skills, what talents they have as they are growing. Of course, that is but this is not even actually peculiar to millennial alone. Take, for instance, the case of Fela Nicola. I believe that must be in the probably 50 or 60 when he has passion for singing, for music, and the parents insisted he must go to school and study medicine.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he went ahead, he studied the medicine, came back with the certificate, dropped it for them and said, this is your certificate, and went ahead with his music. The same thing for this guy in recent time, Watasio Dewenge. He's going to school, he's playing football. His parents insist he must go to school. In fact, that was actually part of the reason he stayed very long in Monaco FC. Now, if one thing we need to understand, or we need these young folks to understand, is that there's a place education takes in whatever you want to do. Of course, when in my own set, when we are growing up, it just takes you to write junior YX. Once you make science, they throw you in science class. See, today, I personally see for that system. Because I made sciences, because there's nothing you teach me that I will not know. So you teach me sciences, I blast the results in year 3. You throw me in you threw me in science class. See, today, I will still have loved to be in science class. I will still have loved to read law. Last year or upper year, I just wrote another YX now that I want to study that law back. Now, and that is the work of the counselors of our school.
Okay.
So, but as it is now, I think we need to be watchful our world now. Check out their skills, check out their talents, but don't negate the place of education.
That's fine.
Safia then when get today is a professional footballer. I think he's tired of thing, but yes, he's still a doctor, I guess. Because at a point you need to retire on something.
Yeah,
we have to put that into consideration for them from this sport.
Awesome.
And take for instance, what I study in school is not what I'm doing today. I study computer. And yes, I find my passion in management.
Yeah.
So now I did project management courses, strategy management courses, all sorts of. So the interesting thing, what I'm trying to say now is that I think we need to be flexible, and then as well take our ground as parents.
Okay.
Not just like he has talent, he wants to sing, and from age 12, you are telling me I have to be after my father's business. You are quoting Jesus Christ for me that I have to let it go.
I'm gonna interject there, Shegun, just because of time. But I'm definitely following you, and I think what you're saying there is we shouldn't forget education. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, over to you, Yemi. Thank you, Shegun. Thank you. Go ahead, Yemi.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I just really wanted to run back to a couple of things that Paul said that were quite profound. Because I think after Wale said some things, I think Paul also just covered it all and hit the nail on the head. He mentioned something about 22 years formal education, which is very costly. Within those 22 years, I know some people who already own their own companies because they're doing something different from the formal education process that we have tended to focus on in the last in the last 20, 30 years. Oh, sorry, in the years before the millennials came into being. And it's the fact that creativity now has, like you said, creativity now added with entrepreneurship has brought a whole new, different look to the way the millennials paint a path for themselves or plan their own paths, and the things that they come up with. Creativity has brought on new different type of jobs. There's some names of some job titles that you hear the names and you're thinking, what is that? But they're creating new jobs, new professional angles to what we used to look at as the right path, like your doctors, your engineers. Engineers now have variations. I know I've heard Taiwo speak about some form of engineering that you wouldn't think is engineering. So engineering, I don't know, Taiwo here, he has lectured me on a few things, but you have engineering in various other ways. Am I right, Taiwo?
Yes.
Just
In a
concur.
nutshell, yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, you don't have to do pure mechanical or pure electrical to be a highly valued professional. And the same thing goes for the other sciences like medicine. You don't have to be a doctor. Radiography. There's so many subdisciplines. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. So we need to start looking at, as Paul said, there's a difference in the generation gap. And these are some things that I think we would need to focus on and to hold on to. School now, Ashiwaju, you came up with this phrase, and I think this is a portion or a sector that we need to look at in Nigeria. Our school counselors, which we used to call career counselors, where they will direct you. I know when I started to plan my own path, and your career counselor would ask you what you were good at. And although I was actually good in physics and a couple of other science subjects. I was massively awesome in arts, and my art teacher advocated that I studied fine arts, hence I studied fine arts, and then looking into graphics and all of that. But if we start to look at what we're good at and work with our children at what they're good at, your hobbies many times become your bread and butter. And that's what we really need to be looking at, as opposed to, well, the regular list, as Taiwo said. We used to have a regular list. That list is out the window. I know a couple of people who studied law, but their creativity have taken over, and that's what they do, and they do that very well. So my take home from this, sorry guys, I just had to butt in because I've been writing. Very unusual, I keep saying, but I'm writing. My take, I'm learning. My take home from this, what I've put out, and that's to explore other parts of learning, vocational, and so many others out there. We should not be blinded with the accolades of names. Some of these people have these roles and these names and these masters and PhDs, and the 25-year-old has a bigger bank account. So I don't know. It depends on you what you really want to get out of life.
Awesome. I'm just going to go to Shaggy Lola, who's going to be the last speaker, because we have something, we have an announcement to make. So Shaggy Lola, you had your hand up. I did not ignore you. So I'm going to ask you to please unmute and take the floor. Good evening.
Good evening, Giz. It's so good to be back. Saffron, good evening, everybody. I really missed Saffron. I missed everybody. It's so wonderful to hear everybody speak this night, and everybody has spoken the truth. When Oli was speaking, it was my experience that she shared, and that got me really interested. I just want to quickly say, because of time, I'm so conscious of time, Giz, no worries. I just want to quickly speak from the perspective of a school manager. To put everything I've heard tonight in view, across to everyone. As a school manager, I do know that, and of course, a school manager who works in the southwestern part of Nigeria, a private sector, really. I do know that we are now looking more, our techniques of teaching has gone beyond the root, what we learned. And what we're projecting now for the Gen Z is it's problem solving, collaboration, presentation, and things that they could do to discover who they are. And that has been, put into the curriculum. Although, yes, the private schools are still struggling with it. But, we already projected that in the southwest part of Nigeria. And when I say southwest, I'm talking about Lagos. We're already projecting that into the curriculum. And we're also ensuring that parents get to know this, that we've gone past the days when you want your child to take over your family inherited organization, businesses, and all that. And even if they do take over such businesses, there are innovations, there are initiatives that they can project on their own, rather than pass down what you know with your experience and force it down on them. So that's really been done. Or like I said, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's something that we already started looking at in the southwestern part of Nigeria. So it's not all bad in Nigeria, even though we are, we have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of things that won't let us move this project forward, but it's all good, and it's going to be good. It's going to be better. Thank you so much, Giz.
No, thank you, and it's so lovely to have you back again. And thank you also for the amazing work you're doing out in Nigeria. It's awesome. I love what you said. Problem solving. That is it's a must, because if we can't teach these young people to independently solve these problems for themselves, we are setting them up to fail, basically. So thank you so much for coming on, and just before we will be closing, but I would indulge everybody to please just give me a few minutes. I'm going to hand over to Yemi to please make an announcement. You have 2 minutes to do that, and then you will quietly hand it back to me. Yes, and then we will continue. So over to you, Yemi. Go ahead.
Now, I'm going to be selfish here, because I have about 3 or 4 of my ex school classmates here. Katugwa, Emmanuel, you're welcome. Definitely great to see you here. And he does a lot of work out in, and I think it's Boronu. And Emmanuel.
Listening to all the good things you're all saying there. Yeah, some very practical, and some, of course, needs to be debated. But in a nutshell, I think you are in the right direction. Well, all that is being discussed. Over.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Also, Bolanle Segilola, you've just spoken with her. I know Ollie is an affiliated Just Lady as well. So it's really great to have you all here. Thank you for continuing to support the work that we do. Also, I just am I allowed to do what I'm supposed
1 minute, you're allowed, you have 1 minute.
Can I share?
Or less than a minute.
Can I share it?
Share what? Oh yeah, share? Yeah, please share it.
Okay.
Yeah, share, and then
I'll share
unshare
it, and you can talk. Okay, I'll share it for us
darling.
now. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bear with me. Okay.
Okay, and basically everybody, this will be 5th of May, which will be the final segment of Sustaining Families. So we've been on this for the past 4 weeks. This has been the whole of April's topic. And to round it off, we're very privileged to have 2 amazing guest speakers. The topic will be Internationally Sustaining Black African Families by AFS, which is the African Family Services, including fostering and safeguarding. And this is a collaboration with SaffronSACAP in collaboration with African Family Services, London Borough of Tower Hamlets. And we are very, very happy to announce the presence of 2 guest speakers, our very own Auntie Amma Anane Ajay, who spoke earlier on with her husband. And Auntie Amma is an international renowned philanthropist, trainer, lifetime achiever award winner, and mine and Yemi's mentor. And we also have Jennifer Bagot, who is also going to be speaking on that day. It's going to be amazing. So we would implore that everybody comes on. It's going to be the same Zoom time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But please do come along, because it's going to be very, very insightful. And there will be a lot to learn and take away from this session. So it's the same time next week, Wednesday, and it's 6 to 8 p.m. normal Zoom time, the normal Zoom logins. Yeah, so thank you so much. And yeah, we thank all of you who have joined this night. I'm just going to ask if you can indulge me 2 more minutes. I'm running over, But I want to just do a very, very, very special announcement. And this is just, oh, hold on a second. I'm going to, do I have permission to share, boss?
Don't know what you're going to share, but hey,
I
I
have.
can't trust you. Hold on.
You have, okay. Okay. You're not supposed to know what we're going to share.
I have. So let me share when you talk.
Okay. You share. Thank you. And can I ask everybody to please unmute yourselves, but keep the background really quiet. We want to celebrate this amazing woman who celebrated her on the 24th of April. Yemi, this has been her baby, and we've worked with her for years. I've known her for 20-something years. Marcia's known her forever. And we just want to ask everybody to please unmute yourselves and share with us and sing a lovely happy birthday to Yemi. And say thank you because of everything she's doing for the community, both here and abroad, in Nigeria, in London. She's amazing. So happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip. Hooray. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Emmy.
No, but I think on behalf of all of Saffron, yes,
Bless you.
may the good
Lord bless you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, we just want to say, Yemi, thank you. You know, you're amazing. Your passion it's through the roof. You carry all of us along. You know, you listen to us. You listen to the community. You take so much on board. When you love what you do, it's very difficult for us to not, you know, work with you and love what we do too. So I think I speak on behalf of everybody when I say God bless you, and here's to many, many, many more years to come. So thank you.
God bless you.
Thanks, Marcia, my partner in crime. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for indulging me. And please, 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 we hope to see you back here next week, the 5th of May, for the International Insight into Sustaining Families. Just before we close, I know you're crying, but please say a vote of thanks and close. Thank you.
I'm actually speechless. It's not very often. I'm just going to say thank you. I can't breathe. My hands are shaking. I'm just so honored and humbled. And thank you so much to everyone, and not just to yourselves. You guys are awesome. There is no way and that I can do any of this, or we can do any of this. Like it's my phrase is not about me. Saffron is about all of us. # together we can. Please, let's just keep doing this work. There's so many children out, not just in the UK, but with my greatest passion, Nigeria, Africa, that need us to continue to reach out. Miss Sibere from Rosebud, thank you so much for joining us. Bless you, man. Thank you. Been a long time from Abuja. Thank you. Everyone, I can't even mention everyone, but I'm really grateful, and I just say thank you. Please reach out, join Saffron. We're having massive restructuring coming up, and it is just about to hit the roof. So please reach out, email, phone calls, WhatsApp, go to our web pages, YouTube channels. We're all out there. It's time for us to do some serious damage. Okay, guys. Thank you. Love you, Giz.
Thank you so much.
Only love.
Love you
Marcia.
more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Ross, God bless
Have a
you.
good
Mr. Shiwaju.
Yes, and you too.
Unmute yourselves
It's
before
on my
you
life.
get
I'm
on.
stuck. Sorry.
Unmute yourself.
Uh,
Everybody unmute. Please feel free to unmute. And yeah, is that in the chat? Okay. Okay.
Love you.
Love you, Oyewale. Yeah, okay, I just declare Oyewale is my son. Firstborn, love you, very proud of you. Thank you, Rose.
Which of the Oyewales?
Oworu.
Whoa.
It's
Are there
Mr.
two?
Oworu.
Oworu. Brilliant. So yes, thank you so much, everybody. Like we always say, once you come, once you become part of Saffron's family. So thanks so much for coming and sharing the night with us tonight. And we do ask that you continue to share when we come on, share to all the platforms. What we want to be the NSPCC for the Caribbean and the African community. It's a movement.
Us.
We ain't stopping. We're moving straight ahead, you know, so please know that we are here for you. We are here to bridge the gap because that's what we said we were going to do when we started this movement. And I hope, I really do hope that we are doing so. Please stay tuned and always go on to, we've got our YouTube channel, we've got our Facebook page, we've got LinkedIn, we've got Instagram, all our social media handles, we will drop on our page. Share, 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 and any information you're looking for, please check our social media handles. Yes, Yem, go ahead.
And I just want to say a special thank you to Auntie Amma. This lady surprised me. She drove all the way to my house and delivered this awesome, beautiful cake. If you haven't seen it, please, I'm just selfishly advocating that you go to my wall and have a look at the cake that Auntie Amma, thank you so much. I appreciate you. God bless you, ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Auntie Amma. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. I need to go and get something to eat. So you all have a good evening. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Everybody
See you
in
next
Nigeria,
week.
please be safe.
Yes.
Till next
We'll see
time.
you next week. Have a good evening. God bless. Bye-bye, everybody. Good night.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, Ollie. Thank you, Paul. That was an amazing session. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Good night.
She's gone.
Mobile